Everybody, how's it going? This is Ryan with Rigs of Death Metal. Today, my guest is Alex of Abhorrent Guitars. What's up, Alex?
Yeah, how you doing, man?
Doing awesome. Enjoying the weekend. Uh, we have discussed having Alex on the show for a long fucking time. About like I think we were talking before recording. Uh, Probably about a year. We've on and
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
Yeah. Life gets in the way, but for anybody who if you follow our page, like we have shared a lot of his builds, so you should be familiar with his work. His actual guitars are getting out there more and more. You're seeing them in the hands of bands like Trivax, Vitriol. There's somebody else big that I saw with one recently. What's another big touring band that's playing your stuff out right now?
yeah. I've just built one for Nas, Kyle from Eccles.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
That one was sick.
yeah. Well, I've been in contact with him and a couple of other members of the band for ages, and they've sort of followed my work.
Mhm.
And yeah, just like it's like people hint about, oh, I'd love to have a go on your stuff or try something out, and then you know, whenever it's a band that you're like, yeah, I like that band. Usually one thing leads to another, and before you know it, you're like, actually, I'd really like to do this build because like these people represent something that's like really interesting, and like I know they'll let me like explore my creativity with it rather than just giving me like a rigid set of I want this, I want that for the
Yeah.
guitar.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I'm trying to remember. It might have been Cheyenne's guitar. No, I was following you way before that. I can't remember where I first saw your stuff.
Probably Instagram.
It was definitely Instagram. Uh, I think I remember whose build I think I saw you with early on, but
Right,
he
I
shall not
wouldn't
be
know.
named.
I wouldn't. I don't know what you're on about. Never heard of him. Never heard of him. He's a lovely bloke. He's my best friend in the entire world.
Yeah, sorry if you all don't know. We won't tell you. It's it,
It should be obvious.
yeah. Um,
It's like
it's
when someone farts on a plane, isn't it? Like everyone starts looking at each other for the smell, but no one will name any names or anything, and everyone works out it's that bloke over there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how there is like it's not like it's like an actual like oh this is an assigned Facebook group, but there is like sort of a group or a circle in like this online like extreme metal community around that's gathered around like gear and things like that. Um it's and it's like a whole collection of different content creators and builders and bands, musicians. It's I don't know. It's funny because it spans like so many different countries and everything else, but it does still feel like a somewhat tight knit circle to where everybody kind of knows what's going on with everybody. You know what
It's
I
strange.
mean?
It doesn't like encompass the whole scene, but it's certain like segment of the scene who are sort of, I don't know, maybe more active in a on like social media and stuff like that. But I don't know what actually ties, I know what you mean, but I don't know what actually ties it all together. Like for
Yeah.
me, um, one of the things that propelled me towards lots of new bands and sort of little circles like that was podcasts. So you said Cheyenne, but also Jackie's podcast, Into the
Oh,
Necrosphere.
I love Jackie
Like,
stuff.
all these people, like bands that go on there, they sort of coalesce into this little like group. And some of the people I've built for are people who also like, oh yeah, we listen to that podcast, and like they communicate with other people who've been on that podcast,
Hmm.
and all these bands sort of like it's almost like they intermesh with each other.
For sure. Uh, Speaking of which, if you were, I missed it. But have you got to do any kind of videos with Jackie or Cheyenne? I think yeah,
Yeah,
you did some
I
with
did a
Cheyenne.
very awkward podcast with Cheyenne where
Okay,
just
I thought
like the
so.
sound was really delayed, and I felt really, yeah, I'm not really uh like very good usually at talking. In front of a camera, it's sort of I'm good face to face, but when you're in front of a camera, it's almost like typical
It's
stuff.
awkward.
Yeah, you get used to it though, I imagine.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know. I still feel awkward as shit all the time, but whatever. You just stop caring. I guess it's not that you get used to it or better at it. You just stop caring.
I found it that when I did that podcast with Cheyenne, I didn't know him very well, and I think um, maybe my sort of sense of British sense of humor and like
Mm.
Cheyenne being quite like he's quite like a forthright and professional dude.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm making stupid jokes, and he doesn't understand what the fuck I'm going on about. Like, I know him so much better now, and it's like I we sort of get each other's sense of humor now. So it's
He,
maybe I like go
yeah,
on and round two.
I would say so because man, he's such a cool guy. I had him on this show, and we've talked about me being on Ilbis and stuff like that, but uh, I haven't followed up with it. But such a great dude. I think we wound up nerding out about Depeche Mode at some
Yeah,
point in our podcast, but just good shit. I need to hit Jackie up sometime, see if he'd be interested
yeah.
in something.
I think Jackie's podcast is a little bit more. It doesn't have many people outside of the sort of like music creator sphere. I don't think it does. Like, it
Yeah.
has like a few other people, like like photographers and artists and stuff like that on there. But
Hell, I'd like to have him even on my show.
let's
But
do it.
yeah, Jackie, if you're watching. But no, I love both of their shows. I they get way more. They get very deep, philosophical, and even like introspective sometimes. And depending on the guest, I guess sometimes we can do that on this show. Uh, like I think me and Kyle from Vitriol kind of gotten out in the
Yeah,
weeds on certain subjects. Um, I don't know. For the most part, it's super gear centric, and
yeah,
I feel like that's most of like what my following. That's all they really care about, anyways. They just want like a rig rundown or something, which is fun, and I like doing those too. But sometimes I just like bullshitting with cool
yeah,
people.
yeah. I think I've got to the age and point in my life where things are so busy that having free time to think about what if type subjects, I just haven't got the bandwidth for it anymore. When I was in my 20s and I like drinking a lot, sitting around a campfire talking about, just having existential crises with
Yeah.
friends, alcohol around a fire. I just can't be asked by that now. I just want to sleep most of the time.
I uh I always kind of make myself cringe. I remember there were times where it was never like myself getting going, but people would like egg me on to like getting tanked and start talking about like string theory and parallel universes and shit like that. And it's just like in hindsight, I'm like, what the fuck were you doing?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, best not to look back at any of it. You're just embarrassed. No.
It's like no, it's like shut up, dude. You're scaring the scaring all the girls away.
Uh,
uh, so for all the people that are probably champing at the bit, like when are they going to talk about guitars? Let's talk about
let's
guitars.
do it. Let's do it. I know a few things,
I would say.
just a
Uh,
few.
well, we'll go with the obvious question first. How long have you been building now?
Uh, it will be 11 years. I built my first guitar this winter, 2014. We're in 2025, aren't we? That's right. Yeah, I have been playing guitar since I was 12 or 13. So what's that? About 25 years. and it took me probably about a week before I started dismantling guitars after getting my first one. And then, yeah, just one of those things where life takes you down on a tangent. I originally trained as a graphic designer, and then the recession, the big global recession hit, and then I ended up doing building work, and I found that I was actually quite good at carpentry.
Hmm.
And then eventually, I managed to connect two and two together and make six, and realized that I've got the tools and the skills to make a guitar, and I play guitar. Why don't I try building a guitar? So yeah, I was bored one winter.
Hmm.
I thought, "Oh, I've got an old mahogany cabinet that I was gonna like strip and paint. Why don't I just hack it up and make a guitar out of it?" So I did, and it was awful. It's terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah.
Still got it.
Hell yeah. And so like that first one, uh, well, how many did you build for yourself before you got to the point to where you started actually like trying to sell them off and stuff?
Um, I've still got the first one, and then I built a second one which looked way better, but it didn't play very well, which I burnt, and then a third one which I burnt, and then a fourth one which was pretty good. I built a Telecaster, which is very. I don't like Telecasters, and I've made quite like for Telecasters. But I built one because I managed to get hold of a template set off eBay, really, second-hand one. And yeah, I built a Telecaster and it actually played all right. So I gave that one away to a little kiddie I knew. And then I probably built, what did I next? I built one for my dad then. Um, and then I built another one for a friend. So, like, six or seven guitars. I got to a point where I'm like, actually, these are they're starting to look like something you would buy in a shop. And I think by the time I got to sort of like 10 guitars I built, I was like, actually, like my skill set's still pretty limited, but like when I do stuff that I'm pretty comfy with,
Hmm.
like building a slab body, something like a Telecaster, bolt on, oil finish, make a neck, that sort of deal. Hardtail, simple electrics. I can pull off something like that and make it. It looks as good as anything you would find on Instagram off like a small builder.
Hmm.
Um, but then I tried doing more complicated things like with paint and binding and inlay, and yeah, it was a steep learning curve.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I got obsessed with it. Like the first year of building, I must have built a dozen guitars in my spare time.
Gotcha. Um, what is when you were kind of talking about like limitations or anything like that, is there any kind of like wiring scheme or control setup that you would absolutely just kind of dread?
Uh, at the moment, I've just had one in that I've had to sub off to someone else because I couldn't get it to work. There's a Sustainiac system
Oh, okay.
coupled with a Fishman. So Sustainiacs, like I put one in before and I had no problems, but they like passive pickups. So
Hmm.
you've got to do some trickery to get them to communicate with active pickups. And
Interesting.
it's on a push-pull system rather than having micro toggles because it's on, an extreme shape guitar. There's not much cavity space. So yeah, after a day of messing around with it, I sent it off to someone who's got more bandwidth for that sort of thing than me. So that's the limitations. But apart from stuff like that, it's been a long time since I've had to sub out any work elsewhere. I used to sub out a bit of finishing work elsewhere,
Hmm.
just because just the logistics of having a small workshop and being able to do good quality finishing work
Yeah.
when you're spraying with like 2K poly. It's only really been in the last year I've got myself into a position where I can do it in house and be happy with it.
Gotcha. Um, there are going to be a lot of questions, by the way, as a heads up, that are hopefully going to be. This is almost going to be kind of like an FAQ section for you.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah. So hopefully, like potential customers will watch this video and not just send you messages only to not buy anything.
Yeah.
um, so how many guitar designs, like guitar shape designs, like templates, whatever, whatever terminology you want to use, how many do you currently have and like sort of like your own internal catalog?
Oh man. Well, if we're talking ones that I produce regularly as sort of like stock builds, there is the Origin,
Hmm.
which I started out with, which is my single cut Les Paul BC Rich sort of pointy Les Paul hybrid. Um, and then really there's two V shapes. There's an offset and a 4V. Um, it was the Vengeance and Violence originally, but the Violence, which is the one I built for Cheyenne, has now sort of been replaced with the Nightbringer, which is it's a bit more elongated, a bit more pointy. So there's two Vs. I'm in the work of a third V. I built a one-off custom called the Desolation, which was a bit more gnarly and scooped like a DBZ Venom. And after I built that one, I had so many people ask me if I'd like build one for them. So I'm gonna make a slightly larger, more, I don't know, more aesthetically pleasing to my eye version of that one. So there'll be three main V shapes. And then X's, the Leviathan, which is my sort of it's it's difficult to describe it. The closest thing is a warrior, a Jackson warrior, X shape, but it's got my own twist on it. Uh, that's a really popular model. And then there's the Scythe, which originally was a custom where someone asked for they wanted a Sammy Pierre Duet type ESP star shape,
Hmm.
but as an eight string with a Floyd.
Okay.
And there was nowhere that made them. So the guy was like, "Can you put your twist on this shape?" So yeah, I came up with that one, and that's been a popular shape. And then my first X shape, which was the Wraith, which is a homage to my love of the BC Rich Iron Bird, but not a homage to the balance or the comfort of a BC Rich Iron Bird. Yeah, so those are. God, I've got to try and remember my own stuff now. Uh, there is the new STFU shape, which is like a very pointy super strat. Um,
Okay.
I don't get many people asking for super strats, strangely considering they're the most popular shape of guitar.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think that's been because people just think he doesn't make stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to build a prototype maybe end of this year and see whether people are actually interested in it from me. And yeah, apart from those, so what's that? One, two, three, four, five, six. There's also the Fury, which is like a bit like the Origin, but more of an Iceman shape. I've built a few of those. Yeah, so about six, seven core shapes. Oh, there's also the uh,
Your single cut one.
Fence Dream. Brandon,
Oh
his
yeah.
Giver signature, which is based on a load of different stuff. Vigio
Mm.
Marilyn, Ibanez, Xiphos, and what's the ugly Ibanez called? Oh, my brain's gone dead now.
Falchion?
Yeah, the Falchion.
Yeah.
Just horrid looking guitar, I think. But
Yeah.
yeah, but designed to be super ergonomic and comfy. So yeah, that's a sort of mainstay shape. But yeah, there's loads of. I'm never against doing one-off customs if people are prepared to pay for my time to sort of like draw out new shapes and make templates and try and make something that's going to work visually as well as you know balance
Sure.
wise, ergonomic wise. I'm sort of willing to just just roll the dice and have a go.
Right. Uh, what's the single cut one called again?
The origin.
That's the origin. Okay. Okay. Uh, I'm a sucker for single cuts. That's one of my favorites of yours, as well as I guess the Nightbringer. Is that Kyle's?
Yeah, that's the new
Yeah,
full symmetrical
the
V
bigger
shape.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think those are off the top of my head. I think those might be my two
Yeah, they're
favorites.
a little bit more traditional. Like I started with the Origin, hence why it's called the
Sure.
Origin. Yeah, creative there.
Yeah.
Um, but I like, I played a lot of ESP Vipers and ESP Eclipses, and
Yeah.
I love the look of a Les Paul. I'm
Hmm.
not so much a fan of the politics
No.
that, but like Les Paul type shapes. I generally really enjoy playing on them, and I'm a pretty big bloke, and I live in a small stone cottage, so having large pointy guitars is not the most simple thing. Despite making them for everyone, for me, it makes sense having quite dinky guitars that are like easy to put somewhere where the kids aren't going to smash them up.
I totally get that. Um, I was I've been a long time Eclipse player. I mean, I've got other stuff now too, but like the Eclipse was like my main gigging guitar for for years, and main guitar for years in general. So I'll always have like a soft spot for them. But Gibson as a brand, I'm not particularly a big fan of for obvious reasons. But that's a
Yeah, I love what they've done.
sure.
Um, but it's all in the past.
Historically, yeah,
It's all in the past. What have they done in the last 50 years?
yeah. Appreciating the legacy,
Yeah.
I guess, is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Um, and the original designs themselves, but they've fallen a long way from that and have gotten so far up their own ass that the guitars aren't worth the price tag anymore. Um, I mean, if you're an artist and they're hooking you up with like the nice ones, cool, more power to you. I'm sure they're great, but I've picked up some in the stores and I'm like, there's either things that get have gotten through QC that are unacceptable for that price tag, or there's no flaws, but they're not as even like without blemishes or whatever from the factory. They're still not what I think a more modern player should really expect for
Yeah.
that price. This in 2025, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. The quality difference between, like a Les Paul standard versus what would be a similar price that we get over here, like a Mayonnaise. If
Mm.
you go into a big guitar shop in the UK and you pick up a uh, Gibson Les Paul standard and you compare it against a Mayonnaise Regius, they're going to be somewhere in the same ballpark in cost, and they're like there's no comparison in the quality and the playability. Like I don't know, I've actually found not that I've been in a guitar shop for quite a while, but um, my experience has been that really high-end Epiphones
Hmm.
a nicer feeling in playing guitars than Gibsons.
Well, yeah, because the QC is being handled by a completely different team, and they're more consistent across the board. I've got an Epiphone, one of the Brendan Small ones, the Ghost Horse. It's like the gray one with the Floyd 24 frets, and coil tapping with Gibson burst buckers, which they don't even make that model as a Gibson.
Yeah.
Um, dude, it's fucking great. It is so sick. I never thought I would pick up an Epiphone like for myself since this many years into me playing, but
There's
like
something about the name, isn't there? Like if you're of a certain vintage, the
yeah,
idea of having an Epiphone is like a bit like being professional and having a Squire. It's like that's a beginner guitar because like
yeah,
20, 25 years ago, if you
Yeah.
bought an Epiphone, it was a plank.
Yeah. Yeah. No, even like back when I was, by the way, I like the way you phrased it. If you're of a certain vintage, I like that. It's a much nicer way to put it. But yeah, like I remember back in high school, friends had Epiphones and I played Epiphones in stores and like, yeah, they felt like beginner guitars. The Epiphone headstock on it's such a petty thing, but the difference of the headstock versus the Gibson headstock,
Yeah,
like in particular on a Les Paul or an SG, it just looked so wrong.
yeah,
And like honestly, the new Epiphone models that they have out there that are like inspired by Gibson that actually have the correct open book headstock, it's like, I'm
yeah,
tempted. I'm
yeah.
actually,
They've done a lot to improve themselves in the last 20 years.
oh yeah, yeah. Um, what was another one I played? It was like the Jared James Nichols one.
Yeah,
Like,
blues.
yeah,
That
yeah,
guy's incredible. Like, I'm not really into that sort of. I don't. I'm not into blues or anything like that.
sure.
I like having a whittle on my guitar, playing
Yeah,
mainly because, like, when I started playing guitar, it was a lot of the stuff that my dad used to play, and like my old man's like 73 now, so
yeah,
you can guess what type of music he's into.
sure, sure.
Yeah, you just sort of like if you when you're 14 and you start learning like AC/DC riffs and stuff like that, they stick. They
Hmm.
stick so much better than the stuff you learn in your 20s.
Dude, it's so true. I don't know what it is. Like,
Yeah, you're just malleable at that age.
well, that and I, granted, probably that age I was remembering or learning a lot simpler riffs than what I'm trying to learn now. So that maybe that's part of it too. Like,
Had to repeat them so many times, you form the muscle memory better, and they just
Rob,
stick.
yeah, yeah. Like, I could probably play you a new metal riff that I haven't played in like 15 years or something. Well, probably, oh my God, probably longer than that. I forget how old I am sometimes. But uh yeah, anyway, going back to your guitars. Um what would you say, because I'm sure you'll get I'm sure you've gotten this question and I'm sure you'll get it more. Like for the most bare bones starting price, what would somebody expect to look at? Like,
Um, Currently, UK about around the £2,000 mark. So what's
yeah.
that? That's about $2,500, something like that.
Hmm.
Um, Currently. So I am, yeah, everything is custom shop at the moment in the fact that like, I build a handful of guitars from start to finish at a time before I start a next batch. And they're all built, from the ground up, from
Hmm.
raw materials. Um, I'm building 25, 30 guitars a year. Um, there is only so much you can do with your time. So, like, uh, that is where they are at the moment, around the sort of 2 grand, £2,500, $2,500 starting price. Um, I am hoping to be able to get that down. I'm looking into being able to sort of like outsource and get my bodies made done by CNC and be able to do like my creme finish guitars. So
Hmm.
it's something I do that like seems to be pretty popular. Just one piece ash bodies, torched,
Yeah.
epoxy stabilized, super gnarly, super raw, and then just straight 2K matte lacquered over them. That sort of thing, bolt on neck. I want to find myself into a position where I can offer like certain configurations with bridges and pickups and get that price down, right, long term. Um, but yeah, standard custom stuff, shop stuff is 2 grand to probably about 4 grand. but it's also so dependent on hardware
Hmm.
because like unfortunately being in the UK means I have to import everything
Oh
because
yeah,
there's just like, we don't have the wood stock, like the only domestic woods that I can get hold of, they're from small scale places, which is ash, and sycamore. There's the only really, and sycamore is comparable to like soft big leaf maple, and we get a lot of like a fiddleback, like type flamed sycamore, which
yeah,
traditionally would have been used for violins and that sort of thing. But apart from that, everything else is imported, so that adds cost, and then all the hardware, apart from like say bare knuckle pickups, which
oh
I
yeah,
I probably use on half my builds, which are made in the UK from all UK source stuff. Apart from that, there's a couple of small companies who make like bits of hardware, but like yeah, everything's coming from either like the USA or Japan.
yeah,
So yeah, with the current state of affairs in the world, it's yeah, prices are they just are what they are, unfortunately.
of course. Um, yeah, that's unfortunately where we're at right now. But all that said, even a starting price of about around 2 grand still isn't too bad. Which you know, obviously that's kind of a I don't know what the word would be, just kind of a floating number. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I most of my audience is in the USA. So I tend to refer to stuff in like American pricing,
sure,
freedom units. Um, so but yeah, about two and a half grand USD.
yeah,
I don't see being 5,000 miles away, like I don't know what the optics of that sort of price are to someone looking for guitars in the USA, because like um I find that compared to people over here, Americans are much more willing to spend money on things they actually want. Whereas in the UK, people are like, what? I don't know if I can justify that. People are so much like naturally tight in the UK, and
yeah.
even worse, like in Europe. Nobody wants to spend money on anything. So,
Mm. Yeah, I guess America does have much more of a consumer culture. I guess is a way to put it.
yeah,
It's have you ever watched the movie They Live by John Carpenter?
yeah,
Yeah, just consume,
yeah, yeah.
buy.
Yeah. No, it's just, I'm pretty tight. Which is like whenever I build one of my guitars for myself, I always end up buying it, selling it. Because I was just like, well, I could do with the money to like put back into the business and like try and invest in this and try and do these things to improve stuff. And like, I don't really need a guitar. I can make the guitar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I end up in this cycle of just trying to sell my own stuff all the time. Um, yeah. But yeah, I'm very, very grateful for my American audience and how willing they are to like, you know, just pay me to build cool stuff.
I know you don't see these prices up front, but I don't know. If you communicate with a lot of your customers, how is it looking like right now with everything as it is? Um,
Um,
like as far as like cost wise, getting stuff from the UK into the US.
there's always going to be import fees, but the change in policy around the de minimis $800 rule.
Hmm.
So generally, so it's been when it comes to a custom guitar, I think with valuing it, especially my stuff tends to be pretty heavily customized. So if you commission a guitar off me, you're going to get generally something that's been made very personal to you. So the value of it, because it's a one-off thing, it's like, could you resell that for X amount. It's not like a mass-produced consumer product. So that's my justification usually for being able to ship it at a lower price because it's like it's how long is a piece of string? What you paid for something to be customized to you is not necessarily its value because you're purchasing something that's very personal to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to ship a guitar listed at under $800 and it arrive in 3 days um, with no duty was was quite useful. And yeah, that's over now. So uh, whether it's going to affect things or not, I think most people when they've decided they want to drop, a few grand on
Yeah.
that sort of thing, it's like whatever. Like I'm not happy about it, but also I want a guitar. So
Right.
yeah,
At that point, it wouldn't be a make or break.
yeah, and yeah, that you can declare things at parts costs and try and get the potential you're gonna pay in duty and stuff down. It's not terrible, but it's still like you don't want to have to pay any more than you have to for the stuff.
Sure.
But yeah,
Yeah.
some countries are cheaper than others to go to. Like Canada is surprisingly cheap to ship to now.
Hmm.
Very low import duty, and I think Japan as well. It's really cheap to ship a guitar out there. Way cheaper for me than shipping to France, or the Netherlands, which is
Makes no sense.
120 miles that way.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's strange.
yeah, well, I'm closer to France and Netherlands and Belgium than I am to Scotland, which is my own country. So
Every every time I talk to anybody from the UK or Europe in general, uh, it's always really funny to hear like you just said 120 miles roughly.
yeah,
And it's hysterical for me like that like 120 miles in any way, barely even getting me into another state hardly.
yeah.
Like it's just funny.
Your country is so vast. It is a continent made up of separate countries, really, that are all tied together under a flag.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. Um, and most of the states, like even if go to ones that are butted up against each other, like the New England states, for example, you go from one to the other, and they become very drastically different very quickly. Um, I'm from West Virginia, and that's kind of the best example where it used to be part of Virginia, and during Civil War and everything, things got so kind of tense that we were just like, you know, Virginia, their legislature was so far removed physically as well as like socioeconomic wise, so far removed from the western part that we just kind of like, listen, you guys are passing things that don't even have anything to do with us.
Yeah,
We don't want any part of this, let alone be part of the Confederacy. We're moving, we're up
yeah.
here now. Like,
We're heading west. See ya.
yeah, which always confused me when I see people here in West Virginia flying a Confederate flag. I'm just like,
Yeah, well, we've got a great thing in the UK at the moment where, in the name of patriotism, St. George's crosses are being painted on trees and on
really?
lampposts and, um, yeah, on roundabouts. And apparently it's okay. It's an okay form of vandalism. I've got no problems with being patriotism, but surely painting a flag on the ground where it's going to get run over is not very patriotic.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a little
Yeah. Flags are there to unite people, not divide them.
sure. I at least for the one I see pop up around. It's I just always like to tease everybody. It's like, oh, cool, it's the loser flag. Like,
Yeah.
they're the ones that lost, right?
Um,
I don't know.
yeah. Older I get, the less I care about all that bollocks.
Yeah,
I haven't got time for it. Life's too busy. I just want to focus on the things that I'm passionate about and
sure.
leave, people who've got enough time to sit on Facebook all day to worry about flags and shit like that.
Right. Uh, gotta, well, I won't get into that anymore. But um, something I'm kind of curious about. So, you as a builder, obviously, you've built yourself several guitars, and bills come calling, and it's like, well, if I get rid of something. But that aside, if you so any of those guitars, did you build them with the intention originally to keep them, and it just wound up like you just thought better to sell them, or you just build them just to build them and like, man, this is turning out cool.
Yeah. The, I like to think usually the stuff that I build from my tastes usually are pretty representative of what I do. And because people like what I do, then they're like, oh, I like that. And then usually offer me money for it. And yeah. Uh every time I do go to make one for myself, pretty much it's like I need a new router.
Yeah.
Like I've just bought a new MacBook Pro, which I've been saying I'd do for about the last 3 years because my other one's 13 years old and
Hmm.
nothing runs on it properly anymore. So it's just like, it's like a couple of grand here, a couple of grand there. It doesn't really go anywhere. So
Yeah.
yeah, I will build myself another one at some point, and eventually I will get to keep one. I'll probably just have to build a really ugly ass one that nobody else wants to buy. Um, we'll see.
Buy one that you can't fit in any guitar case, and then you'll have to keep it.
That's all my guitars.
Fair enough.
Don't come to me for practicality. Come for me for like vile, obnoxious, abhorrent guitars.
Buy a guitar that can stand on its own no matter which way you set it down.
Clay.
It's just,
Whichever way you roll it, it'll land point up.
yeah, yeah. It just winds up kind of looking like a very strategically built like Morning Star or Mace or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
That being said, in the last few years, I have been trying to be more sensible and design stuff in a way that it fits into more standard size cases. So
Sure.
now pretty much everything I build will fit. I use Thomann in Germany for hard cases, and their extreme case, which is like a pretty standard. They're about 4 foot long. It will fit point to headstock
Yeah.
in a case of that size. Um,
Looks like a
but
big looks like a
when
big
it comes,
keyboard case.
yeah, yeah, short cases is one of the most difficult things. Trying to find affordable cases that fit extreme shape guitars
Hmm.
that you don't have to spend like serious money on.
Yeah.
It's like unless you're touring, what do you need a super heavy GT hard case for? And then if you are touring, everybody's using like Enkis and stuff like that now.
Right.
Like proper like flight case systems.
Yeah. Um, I've seen a lot of guys get like like different like gun cases and rifle cases and stuff like that, and they just kind of cut the foam out to custom fit their guitar, and seems, you know,
Yeah, I've done one with a rifle case. They look great, but again, the only ones you can find that are like a sensible sizing
yeah.
are Ellie cases,
Hmm.
and the ones that are fit a guitar are like 400 or 500 quid. And
Ah,
it's just like, I might as well get a custom flight case made at that point.
yeah, yeah, true that. I, yeah, I don't know. There might be. I haven't looked in a while. There might be some that maybe we could get over here or something. Yeah,
There's SKB that you have you can get them in the UK, but they're not
yeah,
like super common. But they make some really nice, like almost like rifle style cases. But
gotcha.
yeah, they are again, they're like 200-300 pounds. So it's quite a chunk of a build to
Sure.
like factor in a case like that. If it's
Yeah,
you have a guitar removed from it, put on a stand, and the case put under a bed or in a cupboard.
sure, sure. But there's some ideas for you guys that
Yeah,
are shopping
yeah,
for your pointies.
yeah. think about the case. But if it comes in a cardboard box when you buy it off someone, that might be a hint.
So if you were to take one of your current designs and spec it out for yourself, what would like right now, what would be kind of like your go-to? What do you think would be like your dream build for yourself at the moment?
So this changes daily.
That's what I said at the moment.
Yeah, it changes daily, and like when I I love it. I love it. I love guitars. I love specking guitars. I love nerding out about the details when I'm coming. I love all that more than I actually love playing them. When I get to play it, I'm then reminded that I'm really mediocre at playing guitar. So then I can go back to obsessing about building them, which I'm better at than playing. But the there's a few earworm builds, and the one at the moment is a Leviathan. And I really want to do a like a like a deep, rich tiger brown Leviathan
Hmm.
quilt top, raw flame maple neck, uh, probably a HS, maybe just a H, um, maybe a color, uh, gold hardware, gold over tiger, just lots of flame, probably a flame
Yeah.
top, flame back, satin finish. Yeah, that's what I'd like to build, and that'll probably become a stock build, which I'll end up selling at some point.
Sorry about that, by the way. Um, no, I do appreciate that. Something I've noticed a lot of builders have a really deep appreciation for letting like the grain and the wood of the guitar kind of like shine through or to even accentuate it, you know. Uh, and that's definitely something I didn't appreciate as much when I first started playing. You know, like everything needs to be black, you know.
Yeah.
Now,
Flat and black.
yeah. Now at this point, it's like if I get another gloss black guitar, then like I'm just gonna fucking just strip it and do anything else, literally anything else.
So this is another thing. Like I have developed my own likes and dislikes in 20, 25 years of playing guitar, and they've helped like my likes and dislikes have helped refine what I do, which is why like you don't see many glossy guitars that I build,
Hmm.
and it's just like partially. So when you're doing mass-produced guitars, it's easy to do like gloss paint finishes. When they're sprayed on with like super thick left to sit, and they can be done bulk out, nice rounded corners. Now, if you take that over to doing like a really sculpted, angular, pointy design, and you try and put polish on that, it becomes like a nightmare because like when you got like a nice big flat surface area, it's really easy to like polish stuff out. But when you got lots of little bevels and tiny little points, it goes from being easy to being like a nightmare because that bit you've got to put your polisher on for like 10 seconds. You put it on 10 seconds there and it's instantly burnt through. So the amount of time to like do a really good quality gloss finish on a really pointy, intricately shaped guitar is
Yeah.
like exponentially more. So there's part of that because if I do it that way, yeah, if you like gloss guitars, great. I'm not a fan. I sort of see that as like rather than putting the money on that part of the build, like I like things that look more what I would consider natural. So I like sort of like somewhere between a satin and a matte.
Yeah.
So it just has like a low level of sheen, thin finishes,
Hmm.
because like I don't really subscribe to the tone wood type conversation.
Yeah.
Paul Reed Smith, tap tone, you
Yeah.
know, it's like it's for metal guitars, it's snake oil as far as I'm concerned,
Sure. Sure.
So
There's like the only sorry. Uh tone would no, I wouldn't. I would say like softer versus harder woods or quality of woods are maybe kind of a thing, you know, like where you're talking off camera. Like I have one guitar that's pine, That's
Yeah,
super soft. I would never build a pointy guitar out of that. You'd break off every horn.
yeah,
Yeah, that's about as much as, or alder versus mahogany if you're looking for a lighter versus a heavier guitar.
yeah.
And that's about where that conversation ends for me.
Yeah. The biggest thing with woods for me is to that point. I keep a stock of different stuff, mainly for their weight and their sound,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think like there's as much. I use for mahogany. I use sapele. So sapele is denser. It's more resonant, which does give you a bit of like a tighter end for bass. Like similar with like with bass guitars, like Babinga's used a lot because it's really good for transferring that resonance. But again, like, if you've got really expensive wood that is known for doing these sort of things, and then like most modern production guitars, you cover them in like, a really like thick layer of like basically plastic lacquer. Like plastic lacquer does not reverberate with the wood, it
Right.
muffles. So like you do that, your beautiful lump of babinga that cost £1,000, you've just wrapped it in like cling film, saran wrap, whatever it's called in
Yeah.
America. It's just like you've just like what's the point? You've just like neutralized it. So like, but I I think if you play a guitar that has an oil finish, you do notice they sound uh, more open, they sound more sensitive, and I guess like that's some of the same ethos that comes into play with designing acoustics. But yeah, as soon as you start like putting EMGs and Floyd Roses on stuff, none of it really matters that much.
Right.
Um,
There's so much distortion and compression and
yeah, I do think the largest part of what we hear with the guitars we love is with our eyes.
yeah.
And if you've got a guitar that you look at it and it makes you feel in a certain way, whatever that is, excited, scared, it's like that will help shape how you hear the guitar. So I think optics are a really like important part in shaping what your brain will perceive when you
Yeah.
first plug it in and play those chords.
Hell yeah. Um, for going back to the idea of your quote unquote dream build, um, what, focus in on like a couple specs. Uh, you might, if you said it, I missed it. Like what's your favorite bridge style?
Um, I really like a Floyd.
Yeah.
I really like a Floyd. Like Callas, I'm growing to appreciate more. I love the look of a Calla. I'm not so keen on how loose they are. They're very sensitive compared to a
They are.
Floyd. When you're heavy-handed like me, that's not ideal. So a Floyd is great, but I'm also quite fond of tunematics. I like a really good quality tunematics, like the hip shot ones and the shallow ones that have got really, really like good intonation range with string through. They
Yeah.
look cool, I think. I'm not, I'm not so keen on like, traditional hip shot type hardtails. Um, I find I don't this is personally for me. I don't like that feeling like when you play a Strat and the strings are so low to the body and the pickups are so much in the way that you're constantly bashing your finger into the pickup. I don't like that feel. I prefer the feel of like, how a Gibson feels, where everything's raised up and you've got space to strum.
Yeah.
That could be because I'm clumsy, but like personal preference.
Sure. I I think it's because I've learned like with my first two guitars were like a Strat and then an Ibanez RG with like the HSH, and I've always had that middle pickup to have to work
What's the
around.
point? Why do they put them on guitars?
Not for metal. Um, but that said, I think my picking style kind of adapted to that. So I like the pick is very shallow and go it doesn't go very far past the strings when I play, I guess. But um, I love tunematics for the simplicity. I I'm not crazy on the angle that on most guitars how they rate like the string above your higher frets is always kind of up higher. It's always got that angle coming down from the bridge.
Oh, but your net break angle as
Yes.
well.
Um, I have seen some guitars that have a recessed tunematic to try to get it like a little bit more, just straight across.
Yeah, that's what I do. Because I build a lot of neck throughs,
Mhm.
and if you got a neck through and a tune-o-matic, I've built a couple with a break angle built into the neck through body, but that means then you have two separate planes planed into a single neck blank that you got to work
Mhm.
around. And while you can do it, it is anything that gobbles up extra time in the workshop increases the price of a guitar. So for the
Yeah.
sake of recessing a bridge, it's sort of like a no-brainer. Um, it's always my sort of goal to be able to maximize what you get out of a guitar for the money. Like I'm always my inner tight self. Um, I always want to like do things in a way where you get the most bang for your buck. I want it to look killer. I want it to sound killer. But there's certain like extra bits of fluff that like they have a place, but for like 90% of what I do,
Mhm.
people want stuff that just looks lean
Yeah.
and hard and loads of layers of binding and like, fancy, yeah, like extra electrical components. It's like most people want stuff that's pretty simple. One pickup, two pickups maybe, your bridge, locking tuners. They want it to balance when you stood up with it. They
Mhm.
want it to look hard as nails. There aren't that many people who want more past that.
Yeah. Yeah. Not many. It's not a whole lot of black metal or death metal guys that want a switch that'll put their pickups out of phase.
Yeah, it's just like like I really admire what I facetiously call coffee table guitars.
Mm.
There's some amazing builders out there who build beautiful coffee table guitars. And I've built some in the past, but yeah, I'm not one of them. It's just like I don't need to put an extra 2 grand's worth of wood into a guitar to do what I do and what I want to do. So, and I don't want you to have to pay an extra 2 grand for a guitar off me.
Right. No, you have you've kind of seen that trend, um, like with the major guitar brands, like you're seeing it more and more with like ESP, even Ibanez to some degree, though I think they're still wanting to cater to like some of these young, proggy, genty kind of guitarists. It it seems like, but um, yeah, Jackson, ESP, Schecter, they all kind of seem to get like I've seen, especially ESP, I've seen have quite a few like swamp ash guitars with like the grain kind of showing through and single pickup, single volume, or an on off switch kind of thing. Um, like some brands are finally kind of picking up on what a lot of guitar players are really actually
Yeah.
wanting, at least in like the metal extreme crowd, and even like to an extent maybe some of the hard rock crowd or punk crowd. Like they don't need everything. They can go for a much simpler kind of machine, um, which is really cool for the kind of niche that you're in. There's a lot of extreme players that for years all they really had was what BC Rich was offering, or maybe Jackson. Early 2000s came around, they had ESP to choose from, but ESP was always something like very bare bones. about a lot of those early 2000s models, right? Like I always kind of joke that a lot of their paint jobs look like early 2000s Toyota Camrys. Like just very simple, like a lot of tans, like
Yeah.
metallic kind of tan colors, which is an interesting choice. Um, but yeah, there's not a ton of brands even now, as much as they are trying to open up and cater to a lot of these extreme players and actual metal players. Still don't see a whole lot of brands trying to push boundaries as far as shapes go. It's a business model. I get it, but it's cool that there's guys like you or Tony at Strega, um, my buddy Kyle with WKM, guys that are not afraid to, they're filling the void of like these really extreme shapes that can be of quality, unlike early 2000s BC Rich. Or I love BC Rich. I used to have this Junior V that I really loved, and I regret having to sell it. But they've done some amazing stuff. Boy, they've pumped out a lot of crap. Uh,
Oh, I despair with BC Rich. Like I, I I'm of a certain vintage, and when when uh when I was in my sort of like early mid-teens,
mhm.
BC Riches that you could buy were exclusively the crap ones.
uh,
Like early 2000s, it was all, I don't know, I think it was China then, a lot of them, those early
yeah,
2000s. And it was back, Chinese guitars by and large. I know there's still a lot of trash ones, but a lot of them are really good now.
yeah,
Back then, they really weren't. They really weren't, and they were made with the worst quality materials. And they just, it sort of like destroyed their brand name doing that. And they're still doing it now. Because I watched a video the other day on YouTube about like a QS for a gunslinger. Um, there's a dude on YouTube who does like review videos,
mhm.
Phil McKnight or something like that.
Oh yeah, Phil
And
McKnight.
he was it's like this is the second worst quality guitar I've ever reviewed. And it's just like they've moved production over to India now.
Mm,
And yeah, like why do it? Why is it just to make money? Is that
yeah,
all it's about? Because if that's all it boils down to is a financial decision, that's quite depressing. Like
right.
these things are designed for people to do something passionate with, to make, I don't like using the term because I think it's corny, but make art with. Um,
For sure.
and and like if you're just distilling it down to this to commerce, I don't know. It's probably me overthinking it, but it ruins it for me. It
Right.
ruins the brand image. Like when I think of BC Rich, I want to think of like that company that made the guitar that every metal band wanted to play in the late 80s. You saw Bolt Thrower playing them, you saw like Morbid Angel playing
Mhm.
them. I that's what I want to think of when I think of BC Rich, not a brand that is known for making, really poor quality $800 guitars
Yeah,
that people, you know, made by people in a factory in the third world who like are probably not being paid very well for their craft.
yeah, yeah. It's they've fallen from grace pretty hard. Um, I I won't name names. I was talking to somebody that was actually trying to work fairly close. Actually, a couple people trying to work close with Bill Xavier, who was over BC Rich, like their more recent CEO. I guess he still is. Um, and they saw some of the designs that they tried to help, uh, try to help foster. Some of those came to light. Almost none of it has actually been produced. Like they don't market when their new models actually go out to these stores at all. Like it's so weird. It's like they just pop up in the wild
Yeah,
and
I don't know what it's like in the USA, but over here, no one seems to be stocking them now. Like they're very. I don't think there's any in the UK now. Places actually stocking the new ones.
I haven't actually seen one in person myself. Like people will like they're just regular dudes that follow the page or whatever that they'll share that they got one, and I'm just like, from where? like like you see them pop up with Sweetwater and Guitar Center online sometimes or to order. I don't know how long they have to wait to actually get them, and when they get them, I don't know. It seems like hit or miss whether it's really going to happen or not. Now, uh, Neil Moser has taken over filling their custom orders for them again. Um, I'm sure you're familiar with Neil,
Yeah,
but so he's still trying. He's trying to revive his own name brand,
yeah,
Moser guitars, with some of his designs, old and new. But on top of that, filling out BC Rich's orders,
yeah.
and
I think there's problems over there, though, aren't there? They've had problems with staff and stuff. Again, it's like smoke and mirrors, rumors, Chinese whispers, that sort of thing.
so there was a big to do with BC Rich when they had iconic guitars filling their custom shop orders, and they almost put iconic out of business. They had to lay off pretty much their whole staff because BC Rich was just basically like placing orders, having them build them, not paying them, not no one getting the guitar. Like it was just it was a whole thing. BC Rich just really did them dirty. Um, I lost a lot of respect for them after that. Even more so than I already like. It was questionable, and that was just like, all right, I'm done with them. Um, but as far as Neil, I mean, as far as I know, I think he's building by himself, and he's just knocking. I don't know. He might have some people with him. I'm not
I thought
sure.
I thought they had like an operation going, like a small custom shop. I don't know. I've heard a few things. I ain't gonna go into details.
It they could. I don't have a clue. I remember he got some backing from that Gunter dude.
I thought he's the CEO, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, but as far as
None
I
of it
know, a lot.
means none of it means anything. Just make cool guitars and sell
Right,
them.
right. But I do know one. Well, I think you do too. I know at least one guy who's gotten his hands on like a Moser built, BC Rich custom, and said it's amazing, but
Yeah, well, it should be, you know.
right at that point, but it's just like that's what a gap. You've got the cost thousands, like probably at least 5 or 6 grand at least. Custom shop at pumping out at whatever rate. Those should be amazing, but they're few and far between compared to your production models, which they're kind of just like come and go as like ghosts in the night. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like I don't know. It's strange. Very, very
Yeah,
funny.
it just
Dean's almost heading in that same direction. It feels like
maybe it's just the nature of these things though, because like I remember Jackson were pretty bad years ago, but Jackson seemed to be completely like since they got taken out by Fender, they seem
yeah.
to have been completely rejuvenated and they're signing so many new artists. Every time I discover a new guitarist, I'm like, I'd quite like to work with them. I realize they've been handed a guitar by Jackson, seen it. Seen it. Oh, that person, they look great with an abhorrent. Oh, they're playing Jackson now. Cool. That's another one off the list.
Yeah. Yeah. I, whoever their AR guy is, Mike Tempesta maybe. Um, yeah, their AR guy. That dude must be like going for like the biggest bonus that Fender's ever handed out or something.
Fair play to him. If he's doing his job well and he's providing these artists with what they need, then fair play to him.
it's a that would be a cool gig. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
I imagine. Yeah, until it all goes horribly wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always dug guys like Chris Canella and stuff for the, I don't know, just a cool gig.
They're doing it because they love it, and that is
Yeah,
the
I'd like to have Canella on the show sometime too, but just seems like a cool dude,
yeah,
and he's got to tour with two of my favorite bands ever,
yeah.
So I could probably pick his brain on that too. Um, what is a classic shape, a classic guitar shape? When I say classic, it doesn't have to be your favorite, the Telecaster. Like if it's the Stealth or I don't know, a Warlock, whatever. What pre-existing shape that you did not design yourself, something that's existed before. Like what would you say is your favorite?
Oh, that is a question. I love the Gibson RD.
I did not expect that at all.
No,
It is a really cool shape.
yeah.
So you're a Ghost fan? No, I'm just kidding.
There's just
Sorry.
something about an RD. And I really like what Dan Abel have done with that sort of like
Oh
vibe.
yeah.
Yeah. They're cool. They are so impractical though. Like, they are massive things.
Yeah. I'm sure I haven't played one with a guitar strap or anything. I don't see how they couldn't have crazy neck dive.
Oh yeah. Well, if it was designed in the 60s,
Yeah.
that was an afterthought, wasn't it?
Right. Um, how do you feel about a guitar company like Dunnable? Like sort of they're not quite extreme shapes. They're just sort of like different and a little bit against the grain. How do you feel about stuff like that?
I I really like them.
Really?
I don't like all their shapes.
Well, of
Um,
course not. You
but
can't.
like yeah, but the few that I do like, I really like. So I really like their take on the RD.
Yeah.
I like that Doom vibe, and they've done, they've managed to take something and make it their own in a way that their success, it's like, they're one of those, there's a few of these smaller companies that have popped up in the last 10 years or so. Like the cream rises to the top for a reason. They're obviously doing something
Yeah.
right. Because when I look at those, I think that looks like a Dennable. It looks
Oh yeah.
cool. Um,
It's hard. It's hard. I would say it was hard for any guitar company to really cut their own like niche and stand out. And it is just impressive what
Tell
they
me about it. Tell me about it.
you're quickly on your way, man. Like,
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, we'll see. Like, I don't want to be one bloke in a small workshop for the rest of the time. I'd love to be able to do, what great brands like, Ormsby are a good
yeah,
example I've done before, and try and offer something different, like my artistic vision, something that I believe in and I think is cool, that could be done in a replicatable manner, and like, not massive scale, but like, that sort of scale would be great, like Ormsby, where you've got a small factory with, like maybe 2 dozen people working there, that sort of gig. Happus are another one over in Germany. Companies just like they've got their own like
yeah,
vibe. Maybe in 10 years time I'll be in that position. We shall see.
yeah. I could easily see that, dude. Like
It's
honestly,
just making it work again. Being in the UK, Woodstocks, everything's imported.
sure.
Hardware, it's all imported. Talent, like the the most of my luthier friends that I've made friends with via Instagram, they're all in other countries. There's very few people
Yeah,
in the UK I actually talk to, and like, yeah, and no one's near me. Everyone's either up north or down in the southeast. Where I am, there's no one. So even if I wanted to try and expand, it's just finding people who are capable. Like, yeah, It
Yeah.
seems, it seems like a mountain to climb, but I'm going to try another go.
Well, I wish the best for you because there's an authenticity to what you do. Um, your character, I think, really comes through, and there's a certain integrity to it. There's a certain like artistry to it that I don't know. There's something about it that just really stands out. Um, and I'm not saying like anybody's better or worse. It's just it's unique to you and what you're doing. And for some of the artists that I've seen pick up your instruments, every time I see one, whether it's Cheyenne or Kyle, uh, all these guys, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, I it's hard for me to like quantify it or describe it, but it's like it's like all of those guys. I kind of know like this guy's kind of sound kind of hippie-ish. I know the wavelength that those guys are on, and it just seems to match.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, and I get that. And I think at the end of the day, the whole reason I do this, partially, I learned at a very young age that I'm not employable. Um, I would call that being having a idiosyncratic personality traits. Um, that's probably a polite way of it, describing myself. But yeah, I've been self-employed for like forever practically.
Yeah,
And that mentality has led me down a certain step of not being very good at doing anything that isn't genuine to myself. And I am first and foremost a fan of the music that I build guitars for.
yeah,
So, I come into contact with lots of people, but if it's, who are interested in what I do, but I, if we're talking like an artist relationship, I want to work for people whose music I love because that's what excites me. And like, when I listen to that music, I can visualize in my head the guitars that not they want to play that they should be playing and like yeah, I know how it happens. It just sort of happens.
yeah.
I'm like,
Hell yeah. Kind of redirecting a little bit. Whenever you finally actually do get to sit around and play one of your guitars, uh, what are some riffs? What's some music? Is it usually just kind of straight noodling, or is there like a style or anything that's particular that inspires you? Like when you like, what does
yeah,
Alex play?
wow. Alex always makes the joke that he's working on his black metal opus, which I will have done by the time I'm maybe like 50 or something like that. Um, but yeah, playing style. Um, I think what stuck a lot from my teenage years was sort of like the Swedish style, the heavier end of mellow death. That was like a real big thing when I was sort of like
Mm,
16, 17-ish. I really, really got into At the Gates.
yeah.
Uh, and I love the At the Gates alternate picking style.
Hmm.
Um, and black metal. Um, I got into Mayhem and Marduk and uh, sort of bands like that. I love that sort of super fast trend picking
Oh
style.
yeah.
And then
Marduk is like the greatest black metal band ever. I don't.
yeah, they're amazing. There's a band I'd love to work with, although I don't think they'd ever be interested. Um,
Yeah, you never know.
well, you'd have to get in contact with them first, which would be
I
impossible.
I've been trying for about a
They,
year now.
they don't do interviews or anything, do they?
They Morgan does like they Morgan does. Um, I think I just gotta have to time it like when they have an album coming out because I think otherwise I don't think he's too interested.
It's got to be relevant to their vision and their goal, I think.
He's a I've watched so many interviews with him because I'm such a fucking fanboy, and he is. I'm almost intimidated. I've not been intimidated to interview almost anybody. I'd be a little intimidated to interview him because he's so like no bullshit, very fast talking to the point. Like I'd be afraid I'd run out of all my questions in like 20, 30 minutes tops. And I just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Like, I don't fanboy very often, but there's definitely a few people that I've like had conversations with where I shrivel up on the spot, and
Yeah.
there's definitely a few more out there that I would love to build guitars for if the stars will align. The thought of building guitars for the guitarist that you obsessed over as a teenager,
Yeah.
it's quite surreal, especially when you like I don't want to name drop, it sounds crass, but I will. Um, you, um, Someone like Gary Holt, you know, the fact that you might get like a comment on one of your posts from someone like that. You're like, I saw you play with Slayer when I was like 22. It's like I've seen you loads of times. I really like what you do. Hi, you know, just a fanboy. It's really surreal when you get like a message of someone like that or a comment. And the novelty is not worn off, and I don't think it ever will. I hope it doesn't. But yeah, that being said, there are a few guitarists out there that I would love to build for one day.
Oh, for sure. Who's name a couple more that are like high on your list. Like it's okay. We're all a bunch of geeky fanboys on
Yeah,
here.
well, my probably favorite. I'd love to build a V for Carl Sanders. I've met Carl. Carl's played on one of my guitars. He was very complimentary about it. I would love to build one for Carl. I would love to build something for uh, Terence Hobbs.
Mm, yeah.
The thought of building my Bloodthirst model that I built for Robert Viersen, which is like like a warlock on steroids,
Yeah.
crystal meth, maybe. I'd love to build one of those for him. I would love to build a guitar for Blasphemer,
Mm,
uh, because that era of mayhem,
yeah.
some of my favorite music ever. I love everything that Blasphemer has done, even his weird Portuguese doomy stuff that I've listened to.
So he's why I picked up one of these amps.
Yeah,
Freaking Blue Voodoo.
yeah,
But I've been trying to get him on the show too. I love Blasphemer.
yeah. There's no messing there. Straight
No.
to the point.
I'm glad we have like similar taste in black metal. Like the pissed off sounding,
Yeah,
no bullshit.
I love stuff that just sounds unhinged and
Yeah.
frantic. Just this is something that irritates me with the guitar world. It's like the whenever I see something that is metal themed, it's
Mhm.
always like gent.
Mm.
That's like modern prog. And I was just like, if you're into that, great, but I think it's shit. So just keep it as far away from me as
Right.
possible.
Oh.
Just like, yeah, my favorite guitar is a Telecaster, a headless Telecaster. That's what I dream about building. A headless pink Telecaster. Yeah, I
With nine strings.
yeah, oh, 9 string multi-scale pink headless Telecaster. There's a certain guitar building company who are really good at putting like, pink with like lime green with like gold hardware with like roasted maple. You might know the brand I'm talking about. You might be able to guess. I love it. It
I have an idea or two.
begins with a kicking K.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a signature thing, don't they?
Yeah. Do you know what? They're doing well. Fair play to them. I don't get it.
I
Like,
did I'm actually and like before we hopped on here, I was editing a rig rundown video I did with some local friends of mine in their band. Their guitar player has a couple. It was my first time actually getting to put my hands on one and actually play one for a little bit. Um, it's not something I would get one of their different shapes
Mm.
personally, which is totally preference. Quality playability wise, I was like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
solid. Style wise, I would go for something different, but eh, different
Try,
strokes.
I get the feel they're trying to cut their own niche, which, fair play to them. It's just not something that, not something that does it for me.
No. Uh, and honestly, I think some styles it would be borderline inappropriate. I know that sounds probably shallow, but um, I'm a huge fan of Ishin
Yeah.
and Emperor. Um, Clearly, but I like a lot of Ishin's solo stuff. I love the fuck it, I'm going this direction, even though it's like so drastically different from what he was originally known for. I can appreciate it. I don't listen to it as much as Emperor, but I still appreciate it. That
Yeah.
said, when I see him doing some of the reunited kind of Emperor shows, and he's you know playing some very very regal looking guitar,
Fruity.
yeah, I'm just like,
Fruity Arta CDs.
yeah,
Yeah. I have handled an Arta CDs in the flesh, and they are beautifully made pieces of
they
plastic.
look it.
Yeah, they're incredible. The quality is incredible, and it played great. But I don't know if you're excited by that thing and you have 5 grand spare, go and buy one.
Sure.
But I wouldn't. Uh, I suppose it would float well in water, which would be handy. Um, yeah,
I've seen some that are pretty cool, but I don't know. I don't know.
I like that they're doing something different. That's
Yeah.
the main thing about what they do.
If I were,
The quality is incredible, and they're doing something unique.
yeah, if I were gonna go somewhere in that ballpark, like with um, roof guitars out
Yeah,
of Poland, which I've did a video with them, like a digital
yeah.
tour kind of thing. Uh, I kind of like what they're doing. It's like it would suit me a little bit better. Like I like the idea of it a lot.
I
Um,
like the fact that they embrace what their stuff is actually made from. Like they
yeah.
do like strip back models.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're made of a similar thing, some sort of like resin-based carbon fiber type.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like carbon fiber shells, and they also have like a resin. Like it's like a combination
Yeah,
type thing, and it's a cool selling point. It's made of a material that is you can't fuck with it.
yeah,
Um, like that's kind of cool, especially
yeah,
if you're a touring guitar player, go
yeah.
and
You don't want
travel all
it.
over. It's
Yeah,
it's a good sell,
yeah,
and they have a lot of metalheads working in their shops. Like, so they've got like flying V's and explorer shapes, and
yeah.
like there's some extreme
Poland,
bands.
Poland is a hotbed for
Uh,
great
Poland.
guitar.
Oh
Yeah,
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 I fucking love, like,
yeah.
there's so many sick Polish
I've
bands.
I've had a couple of Mayones over the years, and they are some of the best guitars I've ever played on.
Yeah,
The only thing I don't find them exciting. Like they're very
they're like Regal Super Strats.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
sort of quite often stripped back, but quite like
yeah,
reminds me a bit of like not in quality terms, but in aesthetic to like IKEA stuff, where it's
that's fair.
like slightly minimalist.
Hmm. That's fair. Um, I mean, I guess on the flip side, you could go like the PRS route, where quality doesn't necessarily get much better after a certain point. You're just paying for how pretty the wood is.
Yeah,
And it's just like
paying for the tap tone with PRS. Don't forget
Tap
that.
tone.
Yeah. Paul Reed Smith tapping every single piece of wood before it gets built.
That's that's so silly.
I think
Um,
I think they're so ugly.
yeah,
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't, especially when you see metal bands playing them. Like I know they play great. I know they're incredibly well built, but they look like something my dad would play.
yeah,
Not even my
yeah.
dad would think they look lame, to be honest. My dad has two of my guitars, so like he's obviously got better taste than to buy a PRS.
I, I do love PRS, but it's sort of like Gibson, where I'd be very specific. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like I wouldn't. Majority of them wouldn't be my cup of tea or my thing. There's
yeah,
very specific ones I've seen over the years that I'm like I could fuck with that.
yeah,
I've seen, and part of it is some bands that I really love in my formative years. I remember seeing play certain Paul Reed Smith, PRS, and I think that's been a little bit of an influence too.
yeah. Yeah, I think if I was ever going to go, because like there's a lot of stuff out of the realm of pointy guitars that I like. Like I love when you see like almost like resto mod versions of guitars where it's like a hot rodded Strat, but
Hmm.
just beautifully made, really simple, really stripped back. Like there's brands like Tom Anderson. Even some of the Sir stuff is really nice.
Oh yeah.
Um, I it's not a sexy sounding brand name, but Patrick Eggle, who's made, 50 miles up the road from me, Eggle guitars. You actually look at the physical guitars. If they rename them something other than Eggle, they would sell so much better.
Yeah.
But Eggle, like that's not cool. But like their guitars, some of their guitars are beautiful. And then there's what's the German brand who do the similar thing? Come on, brain.
Oh
Huber, Nick Huber.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There is something extremely, there's like an unknown quality of classiness I find with his guitars, where you look at it and it's just like, it just looks right.
I've seen a lot of like Les Paul Jr. kind of stuff from him.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just aged in the right way.
Yeah.
If I if I could find myself one day to be like a metal version of that, where just you look at it and it's just like it just looks right.
Hmm.
It is what it is, and it just looks right as what it is.
Man, not not to like just blow smoke up your ass, but with your builds, there is we kind of talked movies briefly before we started rolling, and there's like a term floating around with horror movies now, elevated horror, which is kind of pretentious and snooty sounding, but it's fairly accurate for a lot of the movies it's trying to describe. It's taking this very extreme art form and really embracing it as just that. It's an artistic expression, and they have a lot to say. Like it's and there's an elevated level of artistic expression in the most extreme way
Yeah.
when it comes to the guitars that you're building. And then I think that's part of like the bands that have been, rapping Abhorrent, they kind of get that in their music. Me and Kyle definitely talked on that same subject. How with certain bands, like it's cool to be a mortician, and it's just knuckle dragging, heavy, hilariously over the top heavy for the sake of it.
Unapologetic.
Yeah, those are like your Friday the 13th, where it's like a slasher film just for fun.
Mm.
And that's great.
Yeah.
And then just on a different side of the same kind of coin, you know, you'll have guys that are trying to push it and really delve into what it is at a much more nuanced kind of level, I guess.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it's it's high art, not for the normies. Like,
Yeah, I'd like to link that back to what I said before is I truly believe that a large proportion of the sound and the feedback you get from a guitar comes from the feeling it gives you when you look at it and you first touch it, that tactile quality. Um, that is so important. And it's like no different to a band. Like there are certain bands, you're talking like Marduk, for an example.
mhm,
Marduk's got a design aesthetic that is very much theirs. It's like this cold militantness.
mhm.
You imagine if they changed their art style and they did something that was maybe a little bit more trendy. So you think of like, the sort of like deathcore aesthetic from like the 2000s. Like loads of bands. I think of a black metal band, Abigail Williams,
Mhm.
who had that sort of, they've got the death, it's not deathcore, but like Black Dahlia murder core
Yeah.
aesthetic. The Dan Mumford, like four color, like digital artwork, all very bold and vibrant. Imagine if Marduk adopted Abigail Williams's art style from like 2010. It's
Yeah.
just like, it would instantly not be that band. It would instantly feel different.
Mhm.
And I think that is the sort of vibe that like those little aesthetic details that I try and put into stuff. Not everyone will let me. Some people want it pretty simple, but generally most people are pretty happy to just let me be an artist with it. Um, and just have those little little design cues, little details, things that allude to something bigger than what you can necessarily see. There's like a bit of like mystique, mystery. God, it sounds really corny, doesn't it? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I do. It's not corny.
Yeah, just like an unquantifiable quantity, dark matter.
Yeah. There you go. Dark matter.
There's
Exactly.
some dark matter going on.
We could probably infer what some of these choices will be based off of some other things we've talked about. But what would be your personal top four, your Mount Rushmore of bands or specific albums, if that's easier?
Oh, that's mean. That's a mean question to ask.
Especially because I always just kind of spring it on people. And then they got to
I
think
can
on
do
the spot.
four albums slash bands.
Yeah.
Um, no, I can't. That's really hard. Uh, uh, Mayhem,
Which one though?
Auto Ad KO.
Okay, sick. I'm always interested what Mayhem record somebody will pick.
My my head says Chimera. My heart says Auto Ad KO. Auto Ad KO is so horrid and unhinged and
Hmm.
multi-layered. And it's an album every time you listen to it you can hear something new, and it's repulsive. There's a repulsive quality to it that I absolutely love. um Sepultura, Arise.
Fuck yeah.
Nothing makes me feel like a 16-year-old who wants to like punch a wall or punch a hole through a door than listening to that album. It is the most, I don't know, just like the perfect like knife edge between being feral and being like listenable and produced.
Hmm.
Maybe Beneath the Remains, but probably Arise because I think I prefer the songs on it a little bit and the production.
Yeah.
Mm, Mayhem, Sepultura, Killing Joke, self-titled 2004, the one with Dave Grohl on drums.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Uh,
Love me some Killing Joke.
I love that album. I love. almost all Killing Joke. There is no other band that I can think of that has managed to span as many time zones, as many genres, as many aesthetics, and still just make them their own thing. Um, and I think they are one of the most underrated and unsung bands that sort of like tangentially have influenced extreme metal bands. Um, yeah, I love that album. And Jazz Coleman comes from only just up the road from me. Uh, yeah, amazing. Saw them loads of times live. No one quite like them. And oh, one more.
Fourth one always seems to be the toughest.
Yeah, one more. It's got to be a death metal album.
I mean, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I think it does. It needs to be balanced of some sort of way. I've had a thrash album. I've had like Wild Card. Um, oh, Necroticism by Carcass.
Hell yeah.
Carcass. Uh, I really got into the early earache stuff from reading Metal Hammer as a
Hmm.
teenager. They always had earache sampler CDs. Um, I love Carcass because they can be really feral, but have never subscribed to an aesthetic that's anything else but their own. The fact that Bill Steer plays in flares and a flowery shirt,
Yeah.
playing what is it? A Gibson? It's not a Les Paul.
Melody Maker.
Yeah, Melody Maker. That is not a metal guitar. He makes it a metal guitar.
Yeah.
Speaking of someone, I would love to. I could never do it, but I would love to build a guitar for Bill Steer. I would
Yeah.
love to build a guitar for Bill Steer. Just Bill Steer of like 1991 rather than Bill Steer of today. Uh, yeah, so there, four albums.
So killer. Necroticism, I don't feel like has gotten nearly enough love on this show. I feel like it's usually Heartwork.
Yeah,
Um,
Heartwork's amazing, but there's 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 just that I like stuff that has that unhinged vibe
mhm.
to it. Heartwork's just a little bit too slick for my liking.
Oh, it's very slick. It was like the new standard for
Yeah,
extreme metal production.
it feels like Necroticism is Injustice for All.
Hmm.
Artwork is the Black Album. It's just like they're great songs. It's
Yeah.
just lost that it's lost that edge.
Yeah. It I love it and I love that production. It's like one of those things where it starts to become a completely different thing that you appreciate for its own shit altogether. Yeah. Basically I just reworded what you just said, but
Yeah, I love the artwork as well on it as well.
it is really sick artwork.
Yeah,
It's quite a quite a ways away from the good old days of collages of actual like medical photos
yeah,
and things like
yeah. But
that.
they've also got their own charm as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've got all those albums. I've got all my originals on vinyl,
Hmm.
and don't get to listen to them very often
Yeah.
because I have children,
Right.
and yeah, they like they like ruining your fun. Um, but I still get them out just to look at them. I love like my early Napalm Death albums. Looking at the artwork on there, which a lot of it was done, I think, by Jeff Walker. I think he did a lot of those early artworks and logos for like Napalm Death and Carcass. And it's just
Yeah.
there's it's just cool.
I found out from a recent interview, apparently, uh, the skull on the Repulsion, like that first and only real Repulsion record, apparently Jeff Walker like did the skull for Repulsion.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know that until like literally this week.
I love the small DIY ethic. I love the,
Oh yeah.
even though we've moved on very much in technology, like, I started off as a graphic designer and drawing logos for bands when I was a teenager,
Hmm.
and I used to do loads of metal logos, and I still do that now. So there's still a few bands that I've worked for that I've designed logos for, and some more that you might see in the future. I still get to do bits of it, and like that little design element is
Yeah.
part of what goes into the guitars now.
Heck
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I love it. I love it. If someone says, can you do me a logo for something? I'm like, yes, I will do it for you because like it's fun. It's fun. And it adds to the scene.
Yeah, absolutely. There's more of a punk and hardcore scene where I live. Um, so that's always been a very widely appreciated mentality. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Um, there's a lot of, even though I don't listen to punk and hardcore like I used to, like consistently, I still will. Like I'll still put on all kinds of stuff. The overall mindset has stuck with me a lot. The you know nothing nothing super gimmicky. Like I still listen to black metal bands, but I'd rather um this has got to go on YouTube, so I had to stop myself for a second. But like I wouldn't, you would never catch me in corpse paint, me personally, because it would be disingenuous. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh, for 1349, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like I understand the purpose, and I wouldn't want them not to do it. For me, that's cosplay, you know. So you're not going to see me try to posture be something else ever.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really easy to spot it when people do. Well, that said, Alex, I appreciate you taking the time, man. This has been a lot of fun. Glad we finally got to chat. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Definitely.
Um,
Definitely.
anything you want to plug before we hop off here, dude?
Plug. Uh, Not really. I have some t-shirts. There's still some t-shirts left on the website if anybody wants t-shirts.
Oh,
Although
nice.
shipping to the USA now is like, I don't even know what's going on. There's like customs stuff happening. So maybe my plug is don't buy any of my t-shirts. Uh, I,
$300 shipping on a $25 shirt. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I'm
what
kidding.
American shipping prices? I don't know what's going on over there, but like
Hmm.
the cost to ship a guitar from USA to England versus to England to USA, it costs like three times as much.
Yeah.
Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Someone's pocketed. So
Right.
yeah, don't buy my t-shirts. Maybe buy my guitars. Um, and stay metal.
Yeah. And I'll include, I guess, just a link to your website first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abhorrentguitars.com,
Cool.
Instagram. I am also on Facebook and TikTok, making very little effort. Yeah,
Hell yeah. Minimum effort.
minimum effort.
Love it. I'm not even on TikTok. Everyone tells me I should be. I just don't care.
I've literally got TikTok for watching Varg on there. I miss Thulian perspective on YouTube.
So uh it's ridiculous.
Yeah, let's find out.
All right, man. Well, thanks again and thank you guys for watching. We will see you next time. Peace.
See ya.